Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maximo and I'm here doing something a little unusual, but this is mainly because we've had bloody nothing to talk about the last couple of weeks. This is Enthusia Professional Racing. It is a PlayStation 2 racing game made by Konami. 15 years old. Why am I doing this? Because I thought I wanted to. To be fair, I still kind of do, but the game's not as interesting as I would have hoped. It's basically their attempt at a Gran Turismo style simulator. There are good things about it, and there are bad things about it. With that said, let's go have a look around. We've got plenty of options to work with. I wonder why there's no music. Usually there's music out in the menus here, but you've got plenty of options, including the ability to use a driving wheel if you feel so desirable. This is PCSX2, by the way, and I'm running it at an internal res of 4K. You're not going to see that. It's recording in 1080p, but I just thought I'd point that out. But yeah, there are plenty of options here. What's worth noting about this game is that it actually makes use of the pressure-sensitive buttons on the PlayStation 2 controller, which is not something any other platforms have. So I am using a 360 pad right now, and I've got X and square, which is your gas and your brake, maps to the triggers, and that actually works as a pressure-sensitive button. So if you plan on playing something like this, or any kind of racing game that supports it, like Gran Turismo 4, for example, which I also need to do a video on, but, well, we might get to that one day. But yeah, if you feel like playing something like this, or Gran Turismo 4, or what have you, do that. It will make things so much easier for you, because just playing on a regular 360 pad, it'll be, or just playing with the buttons like how they regularly are, it'll be maximum acceleration or maximum brake. There's no in between, and trust me, in this game, that can come back to haunt you. You've got a library that you can look at replays that you've saved, and you can also see profiles of the car manufacturers that they include in the game. They've got a fair few. This game has something like 200 cars in it, which isn't that much in comparison to, say, Gran Turismo 4, which is something I'm going to continue comparing this game to, because I love Gran Turismo 4 to death. But yeah, 200 cars still isn't that bad, especially with how you earn them in this game. It's not like Gran Turismo 4 where you need to earn an absolute ton of money to get all the best stuff. It's actually pretty natural. So you've got a few options here that we're just going to ignore entirely because they're all pretty obvious. Free racing, versus racing, and time attack are all exactly what they say on the tin, more or less. Although, free racing is a bit of an interesting sort. I'm just going to go into it and show you the car selection. You can see the tracks here. They're all, what's the word I'm looking for? They're all imaginary. They're all fictional tracks. It's not like Gran Turismo where it's a mixture of fake and real tracks, which is slightly disappointing. But anyway, here's the deal. So in free racing specifically, you don't have access to every car right away. You actually need to go and either... Actually, no, I think about it, I don't even see the cars I have in the career mode here. You have to go and play the driving revolution mode, and the better you do in the driving revolution mode, the more cars you unlock for the free driving mode, which is free racing mode, which is strange because you think you'd be able to like import the cars you get from Enthusia Life, but you can't. And driving revolution basically serves as this game's license tests. You don't have to do them, and I will show them off later, but they're all relatively simple driving tests that you need to follow basically a set of gates on, and if you do them well enough you'll unlock more cars, but if you do poorly in all of them you'll only get like one car. So we're just going to go load straight into Enthusia Life, this game's main mode, and basically it's like a simulator of sorts of being in a racing league. It's a little bit different to the normal stuff, but we'll get to that. So this game takes place in the matter of weeks, so every time you do something in these top 3 areas, including changing your car, which I really don't understand why, but every time you do something up here, time passes a week, and you need to go on races to earn points. you can see my ranking points down the bottom there. And the more ranking points that you have, the more ranking you'll get. And once your ranking goes above a specific amount, like for example, I'm at ranking 497 here. When I got above ranking 500, it opened access to Racing Class 2. So and it goes from like a basic 1, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, then like Racing Class. So you need to work your way up through the stands, and I can show you just what I mean. So I can show you some of it anyway. So if I go to ranking here, you can see that I've got some good races going on here. And you cannot enter R2 when your ranking number is below 500. Better make sure my ranking doesn't go down then. But you can see that I've won a bunch of races here. It's put my ranking up, and it's also got a skill level. And that skill level also determines the amount of Enthusia points you have. And Enthusia points are basically the game trying to keep you from making mistakes. Every time you run into something, every time you run into someone, and every time you go off-road, it takes away Enthusia points. It also takes away from the points you'll earn after the race, but we'll demonstrate that later. You've also got fastest lap in driving history. You can also see the specs of your car and the fastest lap you've got with the car. And you can also see the calendar for the RS rank races, which is the top tier of races. You can also go to your garage to tune up your car. Now, this isn't like Gran Turismo, where you are able to buy individual components and swap them in and out as you please. The majority of the upgrading you'll be doing is your tuning level. Your tuning level is increased by winning races with the car, getting points towards the car, and then you will get an upgrade in either weight, power, or tires, depending on when you level up. So basically the car gets better the more you use it. However, considering how often you may want to be changing cars in this game, it's kind of a pain in the neck. Because if you want to swap to like a B-class car, you'll be leaving behind your C-class car and all the improvements that came with racing it more than a couple of times, which is why I'm still on a Class C. You've also got the ability to adjust a few things here. And these do actually make a real difference as to how the car runs. I'm just going to put the max speed up a little bit there because I think I'm going to need it. Maybe a little bit more traction as well. These actually do make a hell of a difference as to how your car handles. I was just being very careful. Every time I've had to try an FR car in this game, I've always had to go and adjust it in this because FR cars in this game, as in their drivetrain, oversteer so much, even with the basic stuff available. You can also change the car's color and the transmission if you so desire. Most cars have multiple. And of course, you can change from like manual to automatic. I never go with anything that isn't automatic for multiple reasons. You can also see the list of cars that you have. And I've got a fair few here because it's very easy to actually win cars in this game. I kind of appreciate the system, if I'm being honest, but we'll be able to see that quite shortly, hopefully, if I win. So we can rest to get all our Enthusia points back. If you run out of Enthusia points, you won't be able to race for a week. And as I said before, your ranking and your ranking points are determined by the 9 best races that you've done that week. So if you are unable to race for 3 weeks, well, you might end up losing all of that ranking. And once you fall below a specific point, you can't join specific races. So yeah, that's a thing. And if you change cars, as I said before, it takes a week. It also gives you Enthusia points back, but not as many as resting. But it does give you like 2/3 of the bar. So if you need to just get a quick top up and you feel like swapping cars out, it's worth the effort to do. But otherwise, you should probably avoid it just to try and get your ranking as high as possible. So let's go join a race. So here's what it looks like here. We have some options. Notably, the races available change every time that you pop into this menu. So I'll come back and all of these races will be different. It's not like Gran Turismo where they're all preset. So being able to come back and see a completely different set of a completely different set of races is actually a really nice thing. So you might be wondering what those numbers down the bottom there mean. Those numbers are basically your odds So depending on the car you're racing, your odds will actually go up and down. And you might find yourself like with multiple races that give you odds of like 6.7, and then you've got races that'll give you odds of 2.5. Now, the higher it is, the worse off you'll be. But it actually adds a multiplier to your Enthusia points at the end of the race. So we can go into this without committing to it. So if I go into it, you can see that I'm going to be way at the back of the pack, and there's a bunch of other cars that are going to be out in front of me. You earn Enthusia points though for first, second, third, and fourth. Then those are multiplied by your odds. So if I manage to come in fourth, I'll get 134 times 6.7 Enthusia points, which will still be an absolute ton. It'll be a real challenge, but if I can pull it off, I'll still get a decent amount of points for it. There's basically no chance I'll come first, because if you look at the odds of the other cars, 1.4 and 1.6, they're basically going to get straight out in front, and they're going to stay there. So it's not something that I particularly want to do for my first race. Ooh, good lord. That's getting a little bit too initial D for me. The bloody Trueno AE86 is in this game. I'm not even kidding, I've seen it. I haven't actually managed to win it, but I have seen it. This feels like it's a, this map definitely feels like it's a sort of Nürburgring, I was going to say rip-off, but no, it feels more like a dedication to it. We're going to go with this one, though, because my odds are pretty good. It also determines where you are on the start grid, so I'm going to start in third here. If you've got a really good chance, you'll start at the back. It's worth noting, though, that the higher tiers will always give you more points. So you definitely want to be in the highest tier possible, especially when you start getting into areas of the game that require you to get more ranking points. So let's do this. I've raced on this track once before, so this is going to go terribly. I probably just want to get out in front as fast as possible, though. I have multiple reasons for this. But yeah, this is Enthusia. It really is like a Gran Turismo. I really don't want to call it a knockoff, because it's got a couple of things that I really appreciate about it. But the first thing I will say is that driving these cars really is satisfying. There is a lot to like about it. The cars are really quite heavy, and it's not like a really simple simulator. You will absolutely need to be using good accelerating and braking to stand a chance here. Especially when you do that, because that is dumb. That is really dumb. I have gone off-road. This is not good. And I've lost a ton of Enthusia points already, because I am dumb. And now they're back out in front of me. Great. Yeah, the controls are as you expect. You do have an emergency brake, but I've never actually used it. It doesn't really do as much for you as your regular brakes, so I do not feel the need to use it. But there are a few things, as I said, to like about this game's racing system, and the main one of them is right there in the middle. So if you're wondering what that is a kind of assist that I have not really seen before. So it shows you where the balance of your car is and how much stress all your tires are under. As far as I can tell, this game doesn't actually simulate like actual damage. It does like, you know, tell you off for running into walls and stuff like that, but there's no actual damage system, which is a little disappointing. But then again, we are talking about, like, I don't think this game's got anything in the way of endurance races. Like, this is the most you get out of it, so it's not going to be like Gran Turismo 4, where it's like, where they've got like 24-hour events. At most, you'll just have really long laps, really long courses with like 3 or 4 laps. So I kind of appreciate that, because those events were murder in Gran Turismo 4. But yeah, anyway, as I was trying to talk about, the assist system in the middle there, the VGS, not only does it show you the pressure that your tires are under, it shows you where the weight of your car is. And I really appreciate this system, because it helps you learn how to drive, because it shows you exactly what you're doing with each part of your car and where you need to try and relax a little. Like me, I need to try and relax a little. I'm not very good at driving this game, I will admit, but I'm also trying to talk at the same time, which does not help me out in the slightest. But yes, it gives you an exact idea of what your car is doing and why. So if you're wondering why you're oversteering, it's because you've put too much pressure on the front tires. If you're wondering why you're sliding off on a specific direction, it's because your weight is off to the side. And it's very accurate. It updates to what feels like the millisecond. So you know exactly where your car's weight is. You know exactly how you might be taking the corner wrong. And you know how to improve it in the future. It works really well. And the game's driving system is balanced around the idea of actually just, you know, feathering the throttle and not just going full bore all the time. I am trying my best. It's kind of hard to get the sensitivity right on a pair of triggers for these pressure-sensitive buttons, but still. When you do get it right, it works really well. It feels really satisfying to drive these cars. They absolutely have weight to them. There are things that you can do that will screw you over, and you want to be very careful about that. It's a very good system. It makes the cars satisfying to drive, because once you manage to get your head around like any particular vehicle, it just works. The physics are satisfying to play around with. The actual driving looks and sounds good. It's not Gran Turismo 4 on the graphical side of things, but it's still a nice looking game. It's a good example of what the PS2 could put out. Not when completely stressed out, but someone who was decent with the hardware took a crack at this game, and it looks good. I mean, I am playing this at like 4K internal resolution, so it looks better than it would. One thing that is particularly weird when you play the game at this higher resolution is the car models. They all look a bit plasticky, like they just came out of Road Trip Adventure. Another racing game that I will eventually need to do a video on. But yeah, that went pretty well for me. I've still got pretty good odds, and I didn't take too much collision damage along the way, so I've lost the Enthusia point, sure, and it does actually give you a penalty to your points for this. Let's see if I win a car. Come on, give me a car. I'll take it. It is entirely possible to not win cars whatsoever, because it does plink off the side, but the game doesn't seem to be like biased in any way in the roulette wheel that is winning a car, so it's fine. Never mind, I did take a fair amount of I did take a fair amount of penalties there, and you can see that it's basically earned me nothing in the way of car and driver points. Driver points just make your Enthusia meter more lengthier, more or less, gives you more points back, basically lets you make more mistakes, but even as you can see, you don't want that. You want to be able to upgrade your cars as much as possible. So yeah, I came second, but I also had some good odds, so that gives me 156 points. Which is still a good amount of points for where I am. I get some Enthusia points back because that happens at the end of every race. And we're back out here. And that's basically the entire mode. You go out, you race, and you try and get to the top of the rankings. More or less. It's a little bit light on the ground. That seems to be the major problem with it. There are some other modes that you can do, like other modes, I say, that there's like other types of races you can do. And I wonder if there'll be one in like any of the other tiers. You do get head-to-heads, and yeah, you do get, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This is a rally race. How many points will I get if I win? 110. And what's the car? I don't think I own that yet, but yeah, 110 isn't really worth much to me. We'll see if another version of that comes up later on. Do we want to do the drag race? Yeah, let's do the drag race, just for the fun of it. 290 points. I've still got better odds, but it's still not great. Alright, let's start. I haven't actually been on this course before, so this is going to be fun. You do also have other assists that you can turn off, like traction control. However, I will point out that they do actually give you bonus points if you turn them off, but I haven't turned them off because I'm not a competent enough driver yet. So how weird is it that there's nothing in the rear view mirror? Like, not even the cliff walls. Bollocks. Bollocks. I'm gonna have such a tough time getting in front of this guy now. This is gonna suck. I can't hear the music in the background, but it really does sound like some generic Gran Turismo style track. Nothing wrong with that, of course. It's just a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? Underwhelming, mainly. Bonk. So, let me talk about, like, I'm a terrible driver. I will admit that, but I have done better in this game before. Let me tell you what the main problem with this game's driving is, though. It's the AI. Now, in this game, as you have already seen, you get penalized for not only running into the side of the thing, the road, but you also get penalized for running into people. Now, this happens to you whether or not it's the AI's fault, and this is led down by the fact that the AI in this game can be ridiculously aggressive. You can be in front of like something that you absolutely have to get through in order to not spin out, and the AI will just run full tilt into you like you're not even there, sending you spinning out and more or less off the track, basically. And there are multiple like situations in this game that I've had where the AI will actively run into you like you don't even exist. And this will drain your Enthusia points, even if it wasn't your fault. As I said before, I am a bad driver. I can accept this. I run into them all the time. You can see how low my Enthusia points meter is. It's not great for me personally. I am a bad driver. But these AI drivers can be just as bad sometimes. And then you get blamed for their mistakes. And it makes the game really frustrating to play, especially if you're trying to work with a lower grade car with higher odds. Because in order to actually get to the front of the pack, you need to be able to get past. There's a little bit of an emulation glitch for you. In order to get to the front of the pack, you need to be able to get past them. And they will just swerve in and out. They will jump from the inside of the corner to the... They'll jump from the outside to the inside of the corner without asking very politely first. They'll run straight into you. You'll take the hit to your Enthusia points, and you'll get basically nothing out of the race sometimes. And it can get really frustrating after a while. I spend multiple races basically getting the shit knocked out of me by the AI. Because they're just that aggressive. And it can really, really suck to deal with. Especially if you're trying to get your car leveled up as far as possible so that you actually stand a decent chance. Or if you're trying to just, like, unlock any other cars. Because you do need to place in order to earn the car in question. Come on, give me the car. Thank you. So what's this one? It's another rank D. I've been trying to unlock something that's a rank C or a rank B, but it just gives me nothing but Ds. Which is kind of frustrating. But yeah, at least I managed to get a tuning level up off that. But yeah, my driving has not been great. least my car's a little lighter now. That's a nice bonus. So 290. Thank you very much. Look at that. It's just off the charts. At least I got some of my Enthusia points back. So yeah, in head-to-head battles like that, it's not terrible, but once they get in front of you, you'll find that they'll make almost every effort they can to avoid you getting in front of them. So the best thing to do is to try and get enough speed just to get in front of them, only for them to lightly tap you and then slow down so that you can get in front of them. That seems to be the best way to get in front of them. Unfortunately, you lose Enthusia points for it. The only real way I've found in this game to avoid the unbelievable aggressiveness of the AI is just to be in front as fast as humanly possible and stay there. Which is not great. I gotta say, it's not great. We have a Sunday match back here, but my odds are so high that it'll basically make the race a cakewalk. So let's go back to R2 and see if there's anything there. We can do another drag race. We can do the Tsukuba. That's clearly a reference to the Suzuka circuit. At least I think that was the name of it. Would be nice to take on that track there since I've never seen it before, but I've got 6.0 odds, which means the AI will be all over my shit. So let's do a high-speed battle. Why not? 240 points times 2.4. That's pretty good. At least the game is kind of merciful in the fact that you only need to worry about your top 8 or 9 races in a 12-week period to keep your ranking up. But if the AI just decides to be overly aggressive one day and screw you over, you'll basically just have to take a week off in order to get all your Enthusia points back, and it can kind of suck. This game also has a lot of advertising. Like, it's actually impressive just how much they've managed to cram in here. Like, I don't even remember the advertising being this bad in Gran Turismo. It's impressive. I haven't actually been on this course before, so I don't know how fast I need to be to get around these corners. It's probably not too dangerous for me to be keeping my finger on the accelerator, but I should probably have a finger on the brake ready just in case. Oh, the emulator doesn't seem to like this track at all. See, now that I'm out in front, the AI just doesn't give a shit. Thankfully, this game doesn't have rubber banding of, like, any sort, as far as I can tell. Even when I'm, like, way out in front, I will stay way out in front. Which is a nice touch, but at the same time, when you're way in the back and you're going to lose, you're not going to get rubber banding for that either. Not a bad thing, of course. This is meant to be a racing simulator after all, but, you know, I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss it a little, especially on some of the harder races. What else is there to talk about? Well, it runs fine. I mean, this is an emulator, of course, but I don't have any speed hacks on. You do have to turn on a couple of things in order to make the game actually look half decent at 4K. So there's a wiki page on the PlayStation PCSX2 wiki, which tells you exactly what you need to do, and after that it was fine. But yeah, the game runs at a perfectly fine frame rate. I haven't had any problems, but then again, this is 8700K and an RTX 2080, so if it couldn't run it at 4K, I'd be a little surprised. But you know, this is PCSX2. It's never been the most stable emulator. It occurs to me that I've picked a really boring race, and I do apologize for that. We'll go for something a little bit more intense next. Just going to show you that you can do a few things. Like, man, those odds were a bit off, I gotta tell you. Like, I'm flooring the competition right now. Yeah, look, you got Canon, you got Bosch, you got plenty of other advertisers. Like, you saw the Goodyear blimp at the beginning, which is just so strange to me. It's all, like, advertisements for companies. I'm just wondering if they actually got paid for that. I assume they did. Like, I get that these games are basically meant to be just giant advertisements for the companies in question. Shit. Well, I almost got through it without running into anything, but this is me we're talking about. As soon as the camera goes on, I become intensely incompetent. Yeah, look at that, I'm being the bloody SUV by like 15 seconds, and that's the second place participant. Unfortunately, none of these cars are going to be any good for me. I guess this is why you have to play the high odds races, because do well enough and you'll earn a higher quality car that you can swap to. And that'll be like, then you can just like wipe the floor with the rest of the competition if you feel the need to. That was close. As I said, that VCS system is really useful because it's really good for learning your cars actually, because you'll know just how far you can push them. And of course you do have the ability to turn that off, and I do believe it gives you bonus credit. I'm never going to do that though, because, well, it's really nice to know. Like, even the most minor touches of the analog stick is enough to really change the way of the car, which I find it impressive. Like, I still find like games like Gran Turismo 4 impressive as well, right? But being able to see just how much of a difference, like, even the tiniest, like, amounts of acceleration, braking, and turning make on the weight of my car, just getting that real visual feedback about how exactly you're driving makes the cars that much more satisfying to learn. It's a really nice system. I wish Gran Turismo would integrate something like it. Although, admittedly, I haven't actually played Gran Turismo since, like, Gran Turismo 5, so I wouldn't actually know if they ever implemented that in, like, 6 or Sport, but still, it's just a really nice thing to have. I know you can realistically tell by saying, like, by just, you know, driving the car and getting a feel for it, but just having that, like, display on screen is just really nice for me personally. It's another D car, FF. Not something I want to drive. I'm currently driving around a 4-wheel drive because I find them way easier to drive in this game. Yay! Another tuning level up. My car is almost as good as it can get. As you can see, I have gotten a bunch of my stuff back. You can see that you get like 2/3 of the bar back, but you get all of it if you rest. Better tires, and then eventually better power. So 240 points. That'll get me a fair amount on the meter. Your ranking is increased by 25. Will it tell me what I need to get into rank 1? No, it won't. That's unfortunate. Alright, let's go do something. Let's go do one more race. Something a little bit more intense this time, though, please. Fucking 9? I would not win that. Not a chance. Like, let me just go into that and see what the odds for the other cars are. Yeah, look at that. Look at this. 1.4, 1.7, 1.9. Like, I wouldn't stand a chance. And look, the points more than make up for it. If I got that first place and then got those 8.9 odds, I would basically get catapulted right to rank RS. But no, let's do something a little different. We did that course. No, we didn't. Did we do that? Was that the course we did? Yeah, I think it was. What about back here? Is there anything? Victoria Road, an intermediate match, but it's 2 cars. We don't want that. Autumn Mountain Challenge. Sure, why not? I even start near the back of the pack, so we'll get to see the AI's aggressiveness on full display. It's a little bit weird going through the menus with the right and left triggers, but it's worth the sacrifice when you get to the actual game. We've got 3 laps. Very obviously two-dimensional crowd members there, but nothing too out of the ordinary. Just feather the brake, get around the corner. I'm out in front, and I want it to stay this way for as long as humanly possible, which is why I am very intently focusing. But yeah, you can... I don't remember the name of, like, the track that this is a quote-unquote rip-off of in Gran Turismo. Hell, it might even be the same track, who knows. But it's been a long time since I've played Gran Turismo. I'm going to have to go play it again now, but... yeah, it's very clear that this is meant to be like a Gran Turismo-alike. Although the Enthusia point system reminds me more of Forza than anything else. Oh, is this the corner I hate? This is the corner I hate, isn't it? Yeah, it's the corner I hate. I gotta slow right down for this one. Because you can go off-road very easily on this corner, and once you do, there's almost no getting back on without losing your place. I'm doing okay, actually. I'm surprised. Usually the AI is way better than this. There's no difficulty settings for this mode. You can set it for 3 races, but for this mode, no, there's not. So I don't understand why they're lagging so far behind me. It's a 5 odds race. It'll still do me pretty well when we get to the results screen if I manage to pull this off, but still, this is bizarre. They're usually chomping at the bit to get in front of me. Who knows, maybe I just did that thing I do from time to time where I find the most overpowered thing in the entire game by accident. Or maybe I'm just trying... I go to say that as soon as I run into a wall. Of course I bloody do. Nothing wrong with driving cautiously when you know that there's a pack of AI behind you who will gobble you up like hungry vultures if they so much as get the opportunity to approach you. See why I hate that corner? I mean, you do get visual warnings on the outside too, but I'm more used to looking ahead and seeing where, like, the barrier ends up being, and since I can't see the barrier, I always end up braking too late. You know, that's probably not a good habit to have considering I'm actually learning to drive right now, but... yeah, shrug. I don't know why people say that driving cars in real life is like driving cars in video games. It's just a controller. It's not. It's not even close. Because at least in games, you don't get saddled with a real life bill if you run into someone's car. At worst, you'll have to pay a few thousand credits. You'll lose a speck of paint that comes back in the next race. Or if you're playing Real Racing 3 on mobile, which is something I'm going to be talking about later. Not Real Racing 3 specifically, but just games on mobile, because, again, I've basically had nothing to talk about this entire time, and it's starting to get frustrating. If you're playing Real Racing 3 on mobile, you have to pay a fee and then wait like half an hour before your car's ready to race again, which is frustrating. It also makes me appreciate modded APKs, even though I dare not install them on my new phone. Right, this corner, this corner, this corner, this corner, this corner. I'm good. I'm good. As I said, I always forget about this corner. It's a pain in the neck for a corner. That went really well. What the shit? I guess that's what happens when I don't have to particularly concentrate on talking about anything in particular in the game. I do really well. Why? I don't know. Let's just hope I get one of those, like, 2.2 cars. Because, holy shit, I would really appreciate getting a better car. Come on, give me something good. The MRSV edition would be fantastic. Damn it! Ah, can't win them all. Well, my car's fully upgraded now, which is nice, but considering that this car really can't take on any others at the moment in, like, your car is now complete. 245. Which is equal to the last race I did, which is interesting. We'll just see if there's any interesting races going on here. Yeah, Tsukuba, the Nürburgring, Edge of the Road. That sounds bad. Four-wheel drive limited race, under 3,000 race, and the Victoria Road Challenge. Yeah, not much interesting going on. There is a rally-style track, which is like another head-to-head, which doesn't really make that much of a difference on the driving cars, honestly. So, yeah, that was a look at the main mode. We'll just go and save real quick, because I'm actually doing really well for some reason. This should not be happening. It does also save, like, automatically. So, if you're thinking, like, oh, I'll just reset the game and not save, yeah, don't try that. It doesn't work. We'll go and do a little bit of the driving revolution. So it's split up into multiple stages. And you basically just, you get a car and you're told to go through the indicated areas. You can see what it's going to be like there, but you can see that there's these little indicators of what you need to do. So that one with the two arrows on it means that you need to brake. And as you can see, it's basically just trying to teach you how to drive. And the closer you get to the indicated speed will determine how well that you do. So as you can see, I cleared it with an A. Completion rate is now over 15%. Rank E cars can now be selected in free racing mode. So yeah, it's basically just a series of driving tests, and the better you do, the more cars you get. Kind of an interesting idea in the unlocking cars aspect, mainly because of how you can't actually import them from Enthusia Life, which seems weird. Like, I always thought half the fun of this was to be able to import your cars. Like, as you can see, I completely missed it there. And you need to, let's try that again. You need to do a certain, like, amount of well in this. Like, you can see the bar down there that I have to fill up. Let's try that again. As you can, like, this isn't a four-wheel drive car. I'm not used to driving it. You do really need to do things like feather the accelerator and, you know, use your brake effectively if you want to stand a chance of this. Feather it around the corner, get some speed. There we go. That was only like an A, but it'll work. A B, that's fine. It's got this sort of setup for, I imagine, every track in the game, because I played like 15 stages and it gave me 15%, so yeah, but it'll drive a four-wheel drive on the second half of the Wild West Enduro. Okay. At least we'll get to see some more courses. Wow, this is like a full-on motocross stage. What the shit? Well, it's not really motocross, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's in the middle of a stadium and everything. Just gotta put on some speed. Completely missed that gate. I passed, but barely. That's what happens when you miss one. You barely made it through stage one. Thanks, game. I appreciate the encouragement. This is the same area, but the car is different, so you need to be mindful of the better performance. They do this a fair amount. brake. Need to just grab the accelerator to make sure I get it right. Accelerate. Whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop, that was weird. That was not good. I managed to hit the wall halfway through that, so unfortunately that will not count as a pass. You're unable to exercise careful control and power slides through the corners. Fine steering and throttle control are required to control your power slides. We'll give it another shot. That works. At least it's good for helping you learn, like, other cars and, like, more difficult sections of certain courses. I haven't actually seen that course in the main game. Drive the first half of the Wild West Enduro. McDonald's, I'm loving it. Yeah, that's so weird. That campaign feels so old, but it... Whoa. There we go. Nice. I still passed though. Let me guess. Drive the first half of the Wild West Enduro with that other car. I was right. It's predictable, but at least it makes sense. Not to mention you get to drive this sort of car nice and early, which is good. Careful on the throttle control. Get some speed. There we go. I wonder what stage 6 is going to be. Or level 6, I should say. It's going to be the Tsukuba circuit. Drive the first part of the Tsukuba circuit. Not to mention it's a rolling start. And there's another game I need to do a video on. I've been meaning to pick up the Dreamcast version of that for some time. We're good, we're good, we're good, we're good, we're not good. Bang. Alright, I think that's enough of that. You get the general idea. So that was a look at Enthusia Professional Racing. I like the driving. The cars feel good under your fingers. The usage of like proper analog triggers for the acceleration and the brake makes the game feel really satisfying to play. The cars have satisfying physics. I really like the little assists that they give you that really help you learn the cars, know exactly how they drive and what you need to do to try and avoid it. And being able to customize things like your car's abilities is nice. It's all kind of let down by a little bit of a lack of variety. Oh, it looks like they do have the full-on Nürburgring in this one, at least judging by the fact that it just showed up in the bottom left there. But I do appreciate what it does, but it's let down by a lack of variety in modes and kinds of races. I mean, it's nice that you've got an initial D-style track, a bit of a high-speed ring challenge, a little bit of a rally-style challenge and all that. But yeah, it's kind of let down by that and the overly aggressive AI that will cause you problems more often than not. I kind of got lucky in this recording, which, again, no surprise, this is me we're talking about. As soon as there's a problem, it'll just, like, it'll just go away as soon as I hit the record button. But, yeah, I like it as a game. It's just, it's hard to recommend for newbies. If you like racing games, I recommend going and checking it out, because it is pretty satisfying to play. But for just regular old people who just enjoy casual racing, I think this will be a little bit too much for them. You might be better off just going with Gran Turismo instead. Unfortunately, this never did get a sequel or anything, because this is Konami we're talking about. Back when they were starting to go down the hole. They weren't completely down the hole yet, but they were going there. So, you know, this game never saw a sequel. like a lot of racing games that came out from different people. Like there was what was it called? Automodelista from Capcom, I think it was, and I think there were a couple of other games that were trying to do the Gran Turismo thing that never got sequels either, which is a shame because it would be nice if Gran Turismo had some competition that wasn't entirely isolated on the Xbox. And PC too, now that I think about it. But yeah, it would be nice. But you've either got Forza on the Xbox, which is good, don't get me wrong, but they've got their own problems, like the bloody ridiculous amount of stuff they put into Forza Motorsport 7. You've got Gran Turismo on PlayStation 4, which doesn't really have like your traditional campaign, which most people like about Gran Turismo, me included, is why I never picked up Sport. And then you've got like the really hardcore racing sims like Assetto Corsa and what was the other one I'm thinking of? iRacing, which iRacing literally has like a $20 a month subscription, and don't even get me started on Project Cars because it seems like everybody hates Project Cars. And after seeing some of the stuff that studio did, I can see why. And they are actually making that Fast and the Furious game, and it looks like a PlayStation 2 game. This game looks better than that game's trailer, which is actually kind of amazing. But yeah, I should stop talking now. This has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.